obvious evidence on the surface of our Earth that they watch our every move. They monitor us through our telephones, through the internet, all kind of ways. And so I believe that that's part of their genetic engineering experiment, and that they have kept great detail about how they're altering our DNA to turn us into the robotic-like beings that they intend to turn us into.
In Tom Horn's book, Apollyon...
I do think that, I want to mention one thing. I do think that that's an initial step that we need to take very quickly is to elect Ron Paul president of this nation in 2012. Ron Paul and I happen to be medical partners for 20 years in Lake Jackson. He is also an obstetrician gynecologist, and we practiced medicine together for 20 years. Ron is brutally honest, and he does understand, perhaps not the story of the Anunnaki. I have sent him a book, but he hasn't had time to read it as yet.
Yeah, I was curious
and
what
I don't
Ron
know
thought.
what his opinion about that is going to be, but I do know that that would be a wonderful step, because he happens to be chairman of the House subcommittee that monitors our Federal Reserve banking system. And he is the first person in my lifetime who has made any effort at all to look into the shenanigans of our Federal Reserve banking system, and he's got a bill before Congress now to at least have them audited, and there's some hope that he can get that bill passed. I think if the American people realize what's happening to us in regards to our monetary system, that would be a nice start in trying to turn things around and change some things in our world.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit more. Where's the gold? Is there any gold at Fort Knox? We see this pattern with the Anunnaki and using human slaves to mine gold. And then we are put on this gold standard. And then, of course, now we're wondering, is there any gold to back up what they claim they have? And we find out they've rigged the laws so they can do whatever they want and leave the taxpayer holding the bag. And then we find out this guy that was the head of the IMF, he allegedly violently rapes a woman in a hotel in New York City. I mean, this is the caliber of these individuals, and that's great. I wonder if there is anything, Jack, to shape-shifting, or the things that David Icke talks about, if during this alleged attack he shifted form and, I don't know, alerted the authorities that perhaps something else was going on, but I can only speculate. But going back into this conversation of gold in the Federal Reserve, you write a little bit about that in the book, you know, just this tie between the ancient world and today, and now all this debt that we're being left with. And wondering where the gold is.
I'm sorry, Alex. I don't know if you can hear me. I can't hear you.
Oh, okay, Bill. Okay. I think you may have had me on mute. Am I back?
Okay, now you're back. Yes.
Okay, I was referencing gold in the ancient world. I'm not sure at what point I was cut off, but I was referencing gold in the ancient world, and it's linked to the Federal Reserve. And us asking the question, where is the gold now? Is there any gold at Fort Knox? This consistent link with gold being our lives, and it's tied to the people being enslaved.
Well, my understanding is there is still gold at Fort Knox. However, the United States government does not own that gold anymore. The Federal Reserve Bank loaned us so much money, and our national debt and indebtedness to them became so great that my understanding now is that all of the gold in Fort Knox was put up for collateral. And so basically the Anunnaki now own that gold. Sitchin has tremendous evidence that that the Anunnaki, the old Anunnaki, the original ones who came to Earth, exited, left here between the years of 610 and 560 BC, from about 50 years to haul all the gold off, or as much as they took at that time. But if we look at ancient civilizations who were supposed to have tremendous amounts of gold, King Solomon, the Aztecs, the Mayans, the Incas, all of that gold had to go somewhere. That much gold cannot just disappear. There's no telling how much gold they've already removed from the earth, but their plans are to get it all.
Mm-hmm. And for the possibility of being used for their atmosphere?
Well, that was their original intent. But again, I believe that for some reason, I don't know why they did it, but for some reason they did write the spiritual literature. Our Bible, if you look in Revelations, talks about New Jerusalem. Mm-hmm. Well, New Jerusalem is apparently the city that they plan to live in. I think New Jerusalem is going to be on earth. I think it is going to be primarily underground. But the book of Revelation says this is a city of pure gold. Now, and it's huge. It's 1,500 miles long, 1,500 miles wide. If we take those measurements to build a city of that size out of pure gold, that takes a lot of gold.
You mentioned in the book that National Geographic in January 2011 found a underground area with its own climate, I believe, its own atmosphere.
Yes, this cave that was found, actually, the pictures are pretty amazing. It not only has atmosphere, it has clouds. These clouds are underground, so it obviously, they produce rain. And that brings something to mind that I would also like to mention, which seems strange at first glance, that the Bible also talks about this great war that is supposed to take place sometime before the end of the age of Pisces, called the Battle at Armageddon. I believe that is a nuclear war, probably. But we also see the devastation of our earth in many, many ways. Our water is being polluted, our atmosphere is being polluted, our food is being polluted. So you would say, well, if the Anunnaki are going to take over the earth, why would they destroy the atmosphere? The book of Revelations talks about destroying all the fish in the seas and the oceans and the rivers and the streams and so forth. But the surface of this earth is not important to the Anunnaki. I believe that they live underground. They prefer to live underground. So their atmosphere, and they have fresh water, they have their crops, their fields, their food, etc., all underground. Their lifespans are also so long that I believe they realize that they can replenish the atmosphere of the earth and the surface things of the earth once they eliminate mankind and get us out of the way. So I don't think they're in the least bit concerned about contaminating the surface.
You know, what comes to mind when you're talking about all of this is H.G. Wells. And his, yes,
well,
the time machine.
There were a lot of things in his book that seem to be coming to pass today.
Yes, exactly. He's also the author of The War of the Worlds, which some allege was used to some sort of a beta test to see how the American public would react. I guess this goes in a new area of conversation, Project Bluebeam. How the people would react if they were told that there was an alien invasion. You know, I was listening to, and I rarely do, NPR, and they were talking with a woman named Ann Jacobson. She wrote a book entitled Area 51, and she was talking about one of her sources in this book, talking about what really happened at Roswell. And she said, her source said that what it was a genetically engineered, what was meant to look like a 13-year-old alien, and that it was engineered by the Soviets with the help of Dr. Menzela, who was a Nazi scientist. And it's interesting to see some of these revelations come out on NPR. I surely ask myself why. We're seeing a lot more alien extraterrestrial stuff now in the media, and even pop culture. You know, Jack, there's a song called E.T. by Kate Perry. And she's basically singing about getting screwed by an alien in a very romantic way. And this is something that young children are listening to. It's very pornographic, and it's talking about sex with an alien. And then we see strange films like The Knowing, where Nicolas Cage, before Solar Flare, don't know if you saw that film, have you seen it?
No, I have not. I have read a little bit about it.
Gives his children to the aliens to save them from destruction, because the solar flare is coming and it ends the world. And there's just so much what appears to me to be alien propaganda. The sexualization of a young female on TV, I find it disgusting, but I see it more often, and I think it's more in the old adage of sex sells. There's something very evil that I feel is on the earth right now that operates in this box that the people are watching as we speak. As they channel surf, there's things that are deliberately put there. The question is, who's putting that stuff there? And why is the feminine, the goddess, constantly targeted? That which brings us life, that which gives birth to man. Why is that the womb being targeted? And I've been asking myself these questions, Jack, more and more the last couple of years, because it seems to get worse and worse and worse. And I just cannot believe that it's an accident. I cannot believe that it's not coordinated, because I can see its effect on the population. I can see how women emulate what they see on TV, and how monkey men emulate what they see on TV. And they think watching the UFC makes you tough. They think barking like a dog at the latest football game makes them a man. And I'm seeing these simulated ooga booga male-female archetypes. And so it's very interesting to see this play out.
Well, and I believe that the truth is, Alex, that we actually have the proof of that now. It's difficult to go through all of Sitchin's stuff and the Dead Sea Scrolls and the ancient spiritual writings, but if one takes the time to do so, what you have just said, we actually have evidence that that's absolutely the truth, and that it is the Anunnaki who are doing these things. You mentioned a movie. There's another movie that became quite popular that is almost prophetic, except they were clever enough to reverse the roles. If you've seen the movie Avatar.
I saw that about a month ago.
Well, Avatar is very prophetic in a way about what's going to happen to our world, except the roles are reversed. That there, human beings come in and destroy this world of the aliens, and just the opposite is going to occur on this earth. The aliens are come to destroy the world of mankind.
True. Yes. Yeah. You know something else that comes to mind, and I'm just now getting into the series now, Lord of the Rings. Here we have a story that also mirrors the Bible in many ways, and I think it was Mordu. Mordu was the place, I think, where these orgs are being generated, and Mordu, I believe, was underground, or it was in a cave where these things were happening. Where Solomon reminds me of King Solomon. Was creating these wicked forces of destruction. There's this one particular scene where this little ugly demon thug tells Solomon that the orgs in the army is ready, and then he says that the king has evacuated the castle and they have women and children, which brings a mighty smile to Solomon's face. And I think there's a lot of things that hopefully people should be getting from films like Lord of the Rings, because these things that we think are science fiction aren't really science fiction. They're direct takes on the world that we live in today, or they're things happening perhaps in another dimension, but nonetheless they're there in pop culture because of the collective zeitgeist. And it's clear that there's a lot of alien stuff in pop culture today. That does seem to, again, lean on the propaganda end, fear of the alien invasion. And some people are wondering if that's what's happening now with these holograms that are appearing in China, that are appearing in Russia, the spirals in the sky. And that's something that we're really trying to figure out here on the show, exactly what is going on. There are many people that are awaiting more and more alien visitations to the planet, UFO sightings, and then we have obvious uses of holograms taking place. What is your take on what the Anunnaki that are underground, as you say, and probably controlling these satellites and running this whole eye-in-the-sky Big Brother apparatus, what do you think their plan is here with this fake alien invasion script?
Well, I think one thing that people need to understand to start with is there's very good evidence now that there is a natural entrance to the underground at the South Pole, and they apparently are able to